Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. India and Bhutan signed 7 agreements in the presence of Prime Ministers Narendra Modi and Shering Tobgay. PM Modi to inaugurate a state-of-the-art hospital built with India's assistance in Thimphu. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal withdraws petition challenging his arrest from India's top court. Enforcement Directorate seeks Kejriwal's remand for custodial interrogation. Chief of Israeli intelligence agency Mossad heads to Qatar, and US Secretary of State returns to Israel for talks ahead of a UNSC vote on Gaza ceasefire resolution. And EU agrees to use Russian frozen assets to pay for weapons for Ukraine. Kyiv could receive the first $1 billion by July. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a 2-day state visit to Bhutan. The visit is aimed at further cementing India-Bhutan ties. Prime Minister Modi and his Bhutanese counterpart Shering Tobgay presided over a ceremony for exchange of agreements in Thimphu. Both sides inked 7 agreements in their presence. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was accorded a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor at the Paro airport. PM Modi thanked Bhutan's PM Tobgay for the warm welcome. Mr. Modi said that may India-Bhutan friendship keep scaling new heights. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi will hold talks with Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuk, the King of Bhutan, and Jigme Singye Wangchuk, the 4th King of Bhutan, and Prime Minister of Bhutan Shering Tobgay as well. The Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Gyaltsun Jetsun Pema Mother and Child Hospital in Thimphu, a state-of-the-art hospital built with the assistance of the Government of India. Prime Minister Modi was greeted with a special Garba performance showcasing the strong ties between the two countries, which have similar socio-economic features. The Garba song is written by Prime Minister Modi. Locals lined up on the streets to catch a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. School children were an excited lot. Amritpal Singh reports.
As Prime Minister Modi landed here in Bhutan this Friday morning at about 9:30 a.m., the Prime Minister was received by the Prime Minister of Bhutan, Shering Tobgay, who just concluded a 5-day visit to India. The Prime Minister from Paro to Thimphu traveled by road, which is about 50 kilometers of distance. And you can see little children, people, the commoners, common Bhutanese, carrying Indian flags, Bhutanese flags in their hands, lined up to receive Prime Minister and catch a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. Given the fact that the Indian Prime Minister is hugely popular here amongst the Bhutanese, this 2-day state visit of Prime Minister Modi is expected to entail a lot of discussions on the bilateral relations and taking them to the next level. With cameraman Praveen Johar, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Thimphu.
Joining me is Mr. Anil Kumar Trigunayat. Mr. Trigunayat is a former Indian ambassador to Jordan, Libya and Malta. Ambassador Raghunath, welcome to DD India News Hour. If I may begin by asking you, Ambassador Raghunath, how would you describe India-Bhutan ties, especially in the last decade?
Well, I think that the India-Bhutan ties are very special and very strategic in character. And this is a very unique country with which we have a very unique partnership. You can imagine that just a week ago, we had the new Bhutanese Prime Minister who visited India. Prior to that, in November, we had King of Bhutan who was coming in. Then you see the Prime Minister Modi, in his first term, the first country to visit, I think, was Bhutan. And in the second term also, when he did this was Bhutan, which is there. And now, amidst the campaigning that is going on for the elections, he found time to go to Bhutan, which also happens to be most likely his last visit before the next elections take place. So, which clearly shows that the kind of connect that India and Bhutan have. Secondly, Bhutan is also in its 13th national plan, in which India has actively helped and associated with various projects. Even then, now 7 agreements have been signed and many others are signed. There are a lot of activities that have been going on between two countries. Now, Bhutan is also at a cusp at the moment, as you know, that because of the Chinese Connect and the discussions that are going on with China on Doklam and some other things, how to boundary settlements and all. I think in that context also it is important that India and Bhutan continue to remain on the same page and do realize the kind of dangers that our northern neighbor may pose to us, both. And that is very important. So I think apart from the economic connect, people-to-people ties, the historic relationship since we have a friendship treaty since 1949.
Right.
And that is a very important dimension. And I think that this is the country which receives the largest amount of assistance from India in its nation building efforts. Of course, there is this hospital that you talked about. It's going to be state-of-the-art hospital. And of course, this year we are also celebrating 55 years, I think, of the diplomatic relations. And also Gelfu, this is the smart city that is going to be there. And they are trying to have a smart city. Then there is going to be connectivity, railroad connectivity, corridors. I mean, those are very important because this particular corridor that we are talking about will enable Bhutan, which is a landlocked country, to connect with Assam, with West Bengal, Bhutan, and Thailand, and Myanmar and Singapore. So I think that this is very important for them also. That is something the landlocked countries face. And they are very much part of our two very important initiatives apart from SAARC and others. One is the BIMSTEC connectivity project again in that. And the other one is BBIN,
right,
in which Bangladesh, Bhutan, and India are partners, and Nepal. So I think that we have a relationship which is, I would say, fully matured, and a relationship in which both sides tend to care for one another's security interests, other interests, and that's why it's very important that this visit has taken place at this time to assure the Bhutanese of India's continued commitment.
Absolutely. Ambassador Raghunath, you describe the ties as special, strategic and unique. Ambassador, do stay on. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Amritpal Singh, who is standing by and joining us from Bhutan. Amrit, if you can hear me, how is Prime Minister Modi's visit coming along? Who all has he met and how did those talks go?
When he met with Prime Minister Shering Topge and held talks with him, of course, he had a small delegation, which includes the Foreign Secretary. On the other side, there were cabinet ministers. The two sides held talks for about over an hour, and then the Prime Minister of Bhutan hosted working lunch for him. In fact, the Prime Minister of Bhutan was there at the Paro International Airport to receive Prime Minister Modi, and both traveled together by road from Paro to Thimphu, which is about 50 kilometers. There were people lined up along the stretch. The Prime Minister, in fact, got down at various places, interacted with the people. After that, of course, the meeting with the Prime Minister happened, after which, 7 agreements were signed between the two sides. They are essentially, agreements in various fields. So they talked about the whole range of issues from connectivity to infrastructure to the upcoming 13th five-year plan, where they're looking at increased developmental assistance from India. India's been continuously contributing to their five-year plans, and in the 12th five-year plan, India contributed about 5,000 crore rupees. So they discussed that and other issues of regional interest, the regional issues of mutual interest came up for discussions. Now those talks have just finished. The Prime Minister will be traveling to this palace where I am. It's called the Tashi Chu Zong, where he'll be received by King of Bhutan, King Wangchuk. There'll be a ceremonial guard of honor given to the Prime Minister, and then he goes in for talks with the king, after which the stage that you see behind me is where both the king of Bhutan and the Prime Minister shall be seated, and the Prime Minister shall be awarded the ceremonial guard of, shall be awarded Bhutan's highest civilian
Right. Amrit, on that note, what can you tell us about the order of the Druk Gyalpo, Bhutan's highest civilian award that will be conferred on Prime Minister Modi?
Okay, now that's the highest civilian award. It has only been conferred upon, three other people, which includes the Queen Grandmother. That means grandmother of the present king, the previous chief abbot of the country, the present chief abbot, and Prime Minister Modi, who's the only foreigner. Now, this award is the highest civilian honor given here, which takes precedence over all other, honors, all other decorations here. It's given for a lifetime service to the people or the nation of Bhutan. Given India's, close friendship with Bhutan, given India's assistance to Bhutan, especially the 500,000 COVID vaccines that were given by India in 2021 when COVID had struck. During COVID, in 2021, the royal government of Bhutan had announced this award for Prime Minister Modi. He hasn't been able to travel to Bhutan since then, so it is his first visit since 2021. So he's receiving that award here today. Ramesh?
And before we let you go, Amrit, a quick question on the development cooperation between India and Bhutan, especially the Gyaltsun Jetsun Pema Mother and Child Hospital in Thimphu, which has been built with India's assistance.
That's right. That's a hospital, a 150-bed state-of-the-art hospital, which is going to be, dealing with both neonatal care and prenatal care, which will have state-of-the-art facilities like the pediatrics department, the gynecology department, etc. Much more beds. There's already a hospital running there, but this is really an expansion. This was the money for this, the funding for this was provided by India under the 12th five-year plan, which comes to an end this year. And so it was constructed during that. Now it will become operational once the Prime Minister inaugurates it tomorrow. Ramesh.
All right. On that note, Amrit Pal Singh in Thimphu, thank you for now. We'll keep coming back to you for more as we go along. And going back to my guest on this broadcast, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat. Ambassador, you describe India-Bhutan ties as special, strategic and unique. In that context, I have to ask you this before we close this conversation. Bhutan and India share a rather contested boundary with China. What kind of conversations do India and Bhutan have when it comes to the boundary question?
Well, as you know, that Dokla is a point which is the Bhutanese territory, and the Chinese claim it to be theirs. And what we hear is that the discussions have been going on, and recently there were meetings between the Bhutanese and the Chinese side, and the both sides wanting to settle this. So it is an important point from our own Siliguri corridor and other areas. So strategically, it is also very important. I mean, I'm quite sure that the Bhutanese cannot compromise with their own sovereignty and territorial integrity for the sake of pleasing Chinese. Therefore, India's support to them is extremely important. It was there during the Doklam crisis and will continue to be with them there. And of course, China is a factor in each one of our neighbors and elsewhere. We see that whether it is our extended neighborhood or our immediate neighborhood, China is going to be a a factor that we'll have to contend with all the time. And even here, it is not invisible. It is very much visible. It is there. And therefore, I think that the visit of the Prime Minister and the frequent exchanges that are taking place and discussions that are taking place is to somehow, at every step of the way, India is supporting them in maintaining their territorial integrity and sovereignty.
All right, on that note, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India begins Operation Indravati to evacuate its nationals from violence-hit Haiti. A deep dive into the challenges and arrangements for a smooth conduct of the general election in India. And celebrations in the run-up to Holi, the festival of colours, begins in India. Revelers take to eco-friendly colours in the state of Gujarat.
Come on boys, let's go practice. अरे रुक यार, मेरे बैंक अकाउंट में गलत एंट्री का प्रॉब्लम हो गया है। तो बैंक को कंप्लेन करना। बैंक को लिखे 1 महीना हो गया है, बट वो गुगली पे गुगली डाले जा रहे हैं। तो आरबीआई के लोकपाल को इन्फॉर्म करो।
रुक, मैं समझाता हूँ। जैसे क्रिकेट में थर्ड अंपायर, वैसे ही आरबीआई का ओम्बुड्समैन। आरबीआई कहता है, अगर बैंक आपकी कंप्लेंट को 1 महीने में नहीं सुलझाता, तो आप आरबीआई के कंप्लेंट मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम पर ऑनलाइन कंप्लेंट कर सकते हैं। ये आरबीआई का आसान तरीका है आपकी कंप्लेंट सुलझाने का। फ्री।
आरबीआई कहता है, जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. On to the next big story we are tracking here on DD India News Hour. Hearing has begun in the excise policy case after Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal was produced before Rouse Avenue Court just a short while ago. Special Judge Kaveri Baveja is listening to the arguments in the Rouse Avenue Court. Earlier, Kejriwal withdrew his plea against arrest by the Enforcement Directorate from the Supreme Court of India. Senior advocate Abhishek Manu Singhvi, appearing for Kejriwal, told the top court that Kejriwal was withdrawing the petition in the Supreme Court as it is clashing with the remand. India's Economic Intelligence Agency on Thursday had arrested Kejriwal. It is investigating allegations that a liquor policy implemented by his government in 2022 gave undue advantage to private retailers. The Enforcement Directorate, which is investigating the money laundering angle in the case, had issued 9 summons to Kejriwal for questioning. In view of protests by the Aam Aadmi Party, the Delhi police has beefed up security measures in the central part of the city. Heavy personnel deployment and multi-layer barricading are in place in the area where AAP members have gathered to hold a sit-in against Kejriwal's arrest. Paramilitary personnel equipped with anti-riot gear were stationed to ensure maintenance of law and order. And my colleague Vikas Sathi joins us from New Delhi for more on this developing story. Vikas, first of all, talk to us a bit about the charges against Kejriwal. 2 Aam Aadmi Party leaders, Manish Sisodia and Sanjay Singh, are already behind bars. Also, BRS leader K. Kavita is in ED custody.
Right, Ramesh. So the allegation against Arvind Kejriwal are similar to which we have seen in the past against Manish Sisodia and 2 other leaders you just mentioned. And in fact, K. Kavita has been recently arrested by the Enforcement Directorate, and after her arrest, ED for the first time made Arvind Kejriwal an accused in this whole investigation. As far as the allegations are concerned, the ED alleges that the excise policy of Delhi was changed in a manner to benefit some selected liquor companies, particularly from the southern India, and in the return they received kickback from those companies which were tuned to almost 100 crore rupees, though ED is still working out on establishing the trail of these kickbacks which were allegedly received by the Aam Aadmi Party, and it was also alleged that this money was spent in Goa Assembly election. So the whole allegation of Enforcement Directorate and the CBI also that the excise policy was manipulated to benefit certain companies, and this particular decision in fact also resulted in the decline of government revenue. So these are the broad charges against earlier against Manish Sisodia. Now ED says that Arvind Kejriwal is also a co-conspirator. As of now, he has been produced before the PMLA court at Rouse Avenue Court, and there will be a kind of remand application from ED later. As of now, the arguments are going on from the petitioner side. They will certainly oppose the remand application of Enforcement Directorate. Earlier also in the Supreme Court and as well as in the High Court yesterday and day before yesterday, legal team of Arvind Kejriwal alleged that this whole case is a politically motivated case. So again, we expect same kind of arguments in the lower court as well.
And very quickly, Vikas, since you referred to his remand hearing taking place as we speak in the Rouse Avenue Court, what can you tell us about the plea challenging his arrest and remand? Where do things, or where could things go from here?
Well, Ramesh, it is very unlikely that that court will give any kind of relief to Arvind Kejriwal today itself. Certainly, court will entertain ED's remand application and will send Kejriwal to ED custody. Later, he will be produced before the similar court, and then again ED will inform the court whether investigation was fruitful, whether Kejriwal responded all the questions, or again ED wants an extension of that custody. So it is very unlikely that the arguments of the petitioners, Arvind Kejriwal, will be entertained by the lower court today, but we will have to wait for that. Generally, on the first date, custody is given, whether it is Enforcement Directorate or CBI. During the first hearing, generally court accepts the remand application and sends the accused to custody of the investigating agency.
All right, we leave it at that. Vikas, thank you. Right, before we close, Vikas, just a quick follow-up as well. As you mentioned, the remand hearing is going on in the Rouse Avenue Court. So, correct me if I'm wrong, if I understood you correctly, after this hearing is over, he will be placed in ED custody, ED remand for the next few days?
Yeah, exactly. Ramesh, it is expected that he will be sent to custody, since it is a very beginning of the arguments, and in fact most of the cases, more than 99% of the cases, on the very first day an accused is sent to the police custody. Here Enforcement Directorate is investigating this whole case, so he will be certainly sent to the custody. What will be the duration of that custody, we will be able to know later, and will take some time since both sides will argue at length, and it is also expected that the judge concerned will first reserve the order and give a detailed reasoned order before sending him to ED custody.
All right, on that note, Vikas, thank you for now. We'll keep coming back to you for more as we go along. That was my colleague Vikas Sarthi reporting from outside the Supreme Court in New Delhi. Now, before we move any further, I want you to take a look at a timeline of the summons by the ED to Arvind Kejriwal. Take a look at your screens now. In November 2021, the Delhi government implemented a new excise policy. By July 2022, the Chief Secretary reported violations, prompting the Lieutenant Governor to recommend a CBI investigation. The CBI then raided Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia's residence. The ED filed a money laundering case which led to the arrest of Manish Sisodia. AAP leader Sanjay Singh was also arrested. Then the ED sent the first summons to Kejriwal in October 2023, which was skipped by him. Kejriwal skipped the subsequent summons too. Later, Kejriwal moved the Delhi High Court against the ED, but he did not get relief. Kejriwal skipped the 9th summons leading to his arrest by the ED on Thursday. Right, moving on. India begins Operation Indravathi to evacuate its nationals from the violence-hit Haiti. So far, 12 Indians have been evacuated from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. Taking to X, India's Minister of External Affairs, Subramaniam Jaishankar said, and I quote, India begins Operation Indravathi to evacuate its nationals from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. 12 Indians evacuated, fully committed to the security and well-being of our nationals abroad. Thank the government of the Dominican Republic for their support, unquote. Now, amid violence and looting in the Caribbean nation, India had set up a control room and an emergency helpline number to evacuate distressed Indian nationals from the country. Haiti has been under a state of emergency after some armed groups attacked the country's largest prison earlier this month, killing and injuring police and prison staff and enabling some 3,500 inmates to escape. The ongoing chaos has forced tens of thousands to flee their home, adding to the more than 300,000 already displaced by gang violence. Right, going back to the other big story we've been tracking here on DD India News are the remand hearing of Arvind Kejriwal and the situation leading to his arrest. Joining me is my colleague Nandita Dagar. Nandita, what is the situation like at ITO in central Delhi where you are? Section 144, we are told, has been imposed in some parts of the city.
Yes. Yes, in this part of the city, especially, it is in force and it is being implemented very stringently because, Ramesh ji, as you see, this is the intersection of Rouse Avenue Road, and here the police has put barricades. In fact, up ahead about 1 kilometer or so farther up this road is the office of the Aam Aadmi Party, which is the party of which the national convener is Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, and he was arrested late night last night at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and currently is being produced in the Rouse Avenue court, also on corruption charges. You can see that the police tow vehicles, the police buses, there is heavy presence of police, CRPF and rapid action force of the Delhi police around the city. In fact, nobody is allowed to congregate here at this road. The police is maintaining.
Right, apologies for the interruption there. I want to take you live to Bhutan for the engagement of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. These are the latest pictures coming to you from Thimphu in Bhutan, where Prime Minister Modi is going for his next engagement. Remember, PM Modi is on a 2-day visit to Bhutan. A number of agreements were signed just a short while ago after the conclusion of talks between the two prime ministers. All right, you were watching the latest visuals coming to you from Bhutan of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's talks with the King of Bhutan. Right, you're watching DD India News Hour. Still to come on this broadcast. The United Nations General Assembly adopts a maiden resolution on artificial intelligence. Blasts heard in Ukraine's Kharkiv as Russian missiles target the city's power supply, causing partial blackouts. And surgeons in the US successfully transplant the kidney of a genetically edited pig into a human in a 4-hour surgery.
Haiti descends into chaos. Who has brought this Caribbean nation to its knees? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. India and Bhutan signed 7 agreements in the presence of Prime Ministers Narendra Modi and Shering Tobgay. PM Modi to inaugurate a state-of-the-art hospital built with India's assistance in Thimphu. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal withdraws petition challenging his arrest from India's top court. Enforcement Directorate seeks Kejriwal's remand for custodial interrogation. Chief of Israeli intelligence agency Mossad heads to Qatar and US Secretary of State returns to Israel for talks ahead of a UNSC vote on Gaza ceasefire resolution. And EU agrees to use Russian frozen assets to buy weapons for Ukraine. Kyiv could receive the first $1 billion by July. The 7th October terror attacks in Israel have added fuel to an already never-ending conflict in West Asia. Hamas terrorists from Gaza killed at least 1,200 Israelis, injured thousands more, and took an estimated 240 hostages. Then Israel immediately launched counterattacks on Gaza. Since then, violence continues to escalate and those numbers continue to grow, and roads leading to peace have become more thorny. In a bid to secure a Gaza ceasefire that would include the release of all hostages, Israel's spy chief David Barnea is traveling to Qatar on Friday to meet with his US counterpart, CIA Director Bill Burns, Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, and Egypt's intelligence chief Abbas Kamel. While in Cairo, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that talks mediated by the US, Qatar and Egypt could still reach a ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. Blinken arrived in Israel a short while ago as part of his 6th urgent mission to the region. He will be holding talks with the Israeli leadership. Now, ahead of visiting Israel, Blinken said that a major ground operation at Rafah inside Gaza would be a mistake, something that the U.S. will not support.
On Rafah, again, we've been very clear, President Biden's been very clear that a major ground operation in Rafah would be a mistake and something that we can't support. There is no place for the many civilians who are massed in Gaza, in Rafah, to go to get out of harm's way. And for those that would inevitably remain, it would be a humanitarian disaster.
The U.S. has planned to put a resolution calling for an immediate truce in Gaza to a vote of the UN Security Council, intensifying pressure on its ally. Washington, D.C. is a traditional ally of Israel. It has incrementally applied more pressure to its longtime ally, and the draft UN Security Council resolution marked a further toughening. The shift has coincided with rising global condemnation of the 5-month-old war, Palestinian civilian deaths, domestic political opposition to U.S. President Joe Biden's stance, and the prospect of a man-made famine in Gaza. The new resolution expresses support for the talks in Qatar, freeing of Israeli hostages and the release of Palestinians detained in Israeli jails. To pass in the Security Council, a resolution needs at least 9 votes in favor and no veto by the US, France, Britain, Russia or China. The European Union leaders have also issued a call for an immediate ceasefire. Meanwhile, one more development has taken place. Finland has become the latest country to resume funding to the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA. Australia, Sweden, Canada and the European Union recently resumed funding to some degree. On Friday itself, in a joint statement, Australia and Britain said that there were potentially devastating consequences of an Israeli ground operation in Rafah. Israel says Hamas gunmen are holding out at the medical complex, something which Hamas denies. Israel claims it has killed 150 fighters and captured 358 militants in and around the hospital in recent days. And shifting focus to updates related to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. About 15 blasts were heard in Ukraine's Kharkiv on Friday morning, and Russian missile strikes appear to be targeting the city's power supply, causing partial blackouts. No casualties were reported. Some of the city's water pumps had stopped because of the attacks. In another central Ukrainian city of Vinnytsia, a critical infrastructure object was damaged, according to the mayor Serai Borzov. The administration of the southern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhzhia also reported 8 missile strikes and said that some locals had been wounded. According to Ukrainian officials, several Russian missiles were still moving towards targets inside Ukraine. European Union leaders have decided to use proceeds from frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine within a few months under a plan that includes buying arms for Kyiv. Leaders of the bloc's 27 member countries agreed at a summit in Brussels to move ahead with work on the plan presented by the EU's executive body this week. The Commission has proposed transferring 90% of profits from the frozen Russian assets to an EU-run fund used to finance arms for Kyiv. The other 10% would go to budget aid for Ukraine. Right, now take a look at some more stories making news around the world. The United Nations General Assembly on Thursday unanimously adopted the first global resolution on artificial intelligence, which encourages countries to safeguard human rights, protect personal data, and monitor AI for risks. The resolution is the latest in a series of initiatives, few of which carry teeth, by governments around the world to shape AI's development amid fears that it could be used to disrupt democratic processes, turbocharge fraud, or lead to dramatic job losses, among other harms. A 62-year-old man in Boston in the US with end-stage renal disease has become the first human to receive a new kidney from a genetically modified pig. The surgery is a major breakthrough that could benefit countless patients on dialysis on transplant waiting lists. And still to come on DD India News Hour. United Nations Development Programme in Sri Lanka uncovers a troubling reality of multi-dimensional vulnerability in the northern and eastern regions of the island nation. Defending champion Chennai Super Kings to take on Royal Challengers Bangalore in the opening match of Indian Premier League 2024. And 22nd March is World Water Day. We get you a report.
You said that Indian ethos and conceptualization of society, nation, state, governance, all these, fundamental concepts of public life. You said that they are distinct and they're quite different and drawn from our traditions.
Our rise should be not just a photocopy of a Western or European nation, but India should rise as its own real identity, which we call it Bharat.
Haiti descends into chaos. Who has brought this Caribbean nation to its knees? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Let me now get you some business news. The International Monetary Fund announced an agreement with Sri Lanka regarding the country's second review of its economic reform program. The program, bolstered by a 4-year extended fund facility arrangement, garnered approval from IMF Executive Board in March 2023, securing a substantial sum of approximately $3 billion. Pending approval from IMF Management and Executive Board, this agreement hinges on successful implementation of prior actions and progress in financing assurances review. If ratified, Sri Lanka stands to gain access to approximately $337 million, supplementing the existing financial support of $1 billion under the arrangement. U.S. lawmakers are set to vote on a $1.2 trillion spending package on Friday as they race to pass it before midnight to avoid a government shutdown. The sprawling measure, wrapping 6 bills, covers funding for over half the government, including the Department of Homeland Security, Pentagon and health agencies for the next 6 months until the end of the fiscal year. DD India's Kate Fisher has more from Washington, D.C.
Lawmakers here are already 6 months behind schedule on this because of lengthy negotiations to resolve funding and policy disputes. Now, they have scant time to approve the bill before a shutdown deadline this weekend. Republican leaders in the lower chamber, the House of Representatives, have signalled that they intend to hold a vote on Friday by passing a self-imposed rule requiring lawmakers be given at least 72 hours to review legislation before it comes up for a vote. There could be additional hurdles in the Senate, that's the upper chamber, where any one lawmaker's objection could prolong debate and delay a final vote. But as long as lawmakers act before Monday, the effects of a shutdown could be minimal, since many federal workers at unfunded agencies would be off for the weekend anyway. But if a closure goes on longer, there could be more problems. It could disrupt tax filing season, as more than half of the staff at the Internal Revenue Service would face furloughs. Border Patrol officers and around 1.3 million active duty military service members would have to work without pay. A previous shutdown sparked national travel delays after many Transportation Security Administration screeners called in sick as a protest. Even if a shutdown is avoided, credit ratings agencies have warned that Congress's repeated brinkmanship could hurt the US government's creditworthiness in the long run. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
And now to all the news from the world of sport with my colleague Abhishek Mahajan. Abhishek, take it away.
Yeah, a lot happening in sports. Thank you, Ramesh. We'll start with the IPL big T20 extravaganza starts today, and we'll in fact start with that story itself. The 17th season of Indian Premier League will kick off today in the south city of Chennai. The opening encounter will see defending champions Chennai Super Kings taking on Royal Challengers Bengaluru.
Get set for a sporting extravaganza like no other for next 2 months as the 17th edition of Indian Premier League 2024 kicks off from Friday with defending champions Chennai Super Kings taking on Royal Challengers Bangalore at the M.H. Chidambaram Stadium. Several top stars who missed the tournament last season are going to return, with the season not going to be different than any other year. Be it the blockbuster trade of Hardik Pandya to Mumbai Indians, to the big money signings of Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins. The stage is set for an explosive tournament. The 10 teams who will vie for the coveted trophy are Chennai Super Kings, Delhi Capitals, Gujarat Titans, Kolkata Knight Riders, Lucknow Super Giants, Mumbai Indians, Punjab Kings, Rajasthan Royals, Royal Challengers Bangalore and Sunrisers Hyderabad. Chennai Super Kings, along with Mumbai Indians, have won 5 trophies, who jointly are the most successful teams in the IPL. So far, the schedule for only the first 21 matches has been released due to the upcoming 2024 India's general elections. This season is going to be the final season before the mega auctions and will also be a precursor to the T20 World Cup 2024, set to be played in June in the United States of America and the Caribbean islands. Several Indian youngsters spread out across all 10 teams will be looking to prove themselves in the league and stake a claim for a spot in India's World Cup squad. Sports Desk, DD India.
All right, from cricket to badminton now, Indian shuttlers had a mixed result in Swiss Open badminton tournament on Thursday. India's top shuttler Lakshya Sen went down against Li Xiaohao in straight games 17-21, 15-21. Kidambi Shrikant moved to the quarterfinals after registering a straight game win against Li Zijia 21-16, 21-15. Meanwhile, star women shuttler PV Sindhu got knocked out, losing to Japan's Tomoka Miyazaki 21-16, 19-21, 16-21. World number 20 women's doubles pair of Tanisha Crasto and Ashwini Ponappa lost to Japan's Rui Hirokami and Yu Nakato 17-21, 16-21. All right, that's all we have in the world of sports. Back to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Abhishek. And finally, before we close, 22nd March is World Water Day. It celebrates the vital importance of water in all our lives. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has shared a video on X reiterating his government's commitment to protecting this precious resource and work towards sustainable water management. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.